When I was 16 years old, that was the last time that I was arrested. And at that time, we were at an all-time low, I think, with our family. And at that time, we were living in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. And I am already a pretty big boy, 6'4", 200 and maybe 20, 25 pounds. I had a very bad mustache. I had a chip on my shoulder. Fresh into this high school in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, Freedom High School. I go into the teacher's lounge and a teacher comes in. His name is Jody Swick. Tough guy. He says, "Hey, you can't be in here." I kind of pause, look over my shoulder. Okay. I slowly dry my hands and I walk by him and I kind of just looked at him. I walked by. He looked at me, didn't say a word, but he was fuming. I went home that night and I felt bad. I just felt bad. Very next day, I found him and I went to see him in his class and I said, I just want to apologize for how I acted yesterday and I'm sorry. And I stuck my hand out and he looked at my hand and looked at me, looked at my hand again. He shook my hand. I'll never forget that shake. He wouldn't let it go. He said, "I want you to do something for me." "Yes." "I want you to come out and play football for me." I said, "Okay." He said, "All right, have your word?" "Yeah, sure." You got my word. Didn't think much of it. I thought, okay, yeah, play some football. Like playing football? Sure, cool. And I went out and I played football for Jody Swick, and he was our head football coach, and he became a father figure to me and a mentor. I fell in love with the game of football. My grades got better, and I started getting recruited from every college across the country. College coaches will come in, say, "There he is, Dwayne Johnson."
My old man, my dad was my hero growing up. And then as I got a little older and I became a teenager, we started to have a real complicated relationship. Because you start to feel yourself as a man. And he feels himself as a man, and there's a lot of testosterone. And so we were like this for a very long time. But the thing that always kept us together was him saying, "Come to the gym with me."
Got it. Wow.
"Come to the gym with me." And so the gym was introduced in my life when I was a kid, a boy, and it always meant something to me. And when I was playing up in Calgary for the CFL, I was cut in October, sent home. And at that time, I'd left University of Miami. The guys who I was playing with at that time, Ray Lewis, Warren Sapp, they were lighting the world on fire. Their dreams were coming true. They were buying their mom's houses. And when I got cut from Canada that season, that was when I had $7 in my pocket. So we've all had those moments in $7, with $7, having $7. But what I found, and as I got a little luckier down the road of life and was able to achieve a thing or two, I started to apply gratitude. And I was always trying to apply gratitude anyway. I've always been that way, I think, at my core, just trying to find the good in something. Because it's easy to get lost in the sludge of things, especially when things are down. So what I tried to do is try to keep all those times, the hard times, and keep them in the forefront of my mind. The biggest thing for me was trying to understand the reason why, and if it weren't this dream that I was so focused on and so determined to make and work my ass off. You know how it is, like in high school, then you go to college, and you're working hard and all your boys around you, some of them are going to the league every year. And it's like, all right, my time is coming. And it doesn't happen. And the tidal wave of disappointment out of that was a rough one for me. It wound up being, I always say, me playing in the NFL wound up being the best thing that never happened to me. So once I got cut from football, got sent back home to Tampa, moved back in with my parents, had $7 in my pocket. There was something in my gut, and then there was a little voice that we always got to listen to. And if we're lucky enough, if we're smart enough to listen to it, it could usually lead you down the right path of something good. So my gut was saying, business is calling, wrestling is calling, I shared with my dad and my mom, hey, this is what I want to do. My dad was like on his little rocker, he's looking at me. He goes, well, what are you going to do? By this time, my mom's walking in. She starts to feel the tension, right? She walks in, and I was an only child, so it's just the three of us in this house, in this little apartment in Tampa. She walks in. My dad said, what are you going to do? I said, this is it. I said, I'm going to get in the business. He said, what business? I said, the family business, the wrestling business. I convinced him. I said, listen, I need you to train me. And if it's not you, I'm going to go to somebody else. But I would love for you to train me. And finally, he trained me. And the very first day of training, it's called a lockup. You lock up, I was in love. That was it. So in a way, wrestling did save my life. The gratitude, then there's grit, and then I think, well, what's the alternative? So, and the alternative is $7. The alternative is struggle. The alternative is not having options, not having a choice. So I think about that all the time. And it continues to drive me. And in the variety of the businesses, I'll say evictions around the corner. Yeah. We need to say it. I was a rookie in the wrestling business. I was the wrestling business is a term called babyface, which is a good guy. I was being groomed as a good guy wrestler. Young, the idea was you're grateful for the opportunity. So when you go out there, I want you to smile. You can't smile enough. And I thought, well, what if I lose? No. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Still got to smile. And it just didn't feel right. That didn't sit right with me. So a few months later, the company made me the Intercontinental Champion. And then a month later, we go into the annual biggest event. It's like the Super Bowl of wrestling, WrestleMania. And it was WrestleMania 13. By the time I got to Chicago, WrestleMania, 16,000 people in the middle of the ring. When I was in the ring, and I'm supposed to be a good guy, and they're supposed to cheer me, 16,000 people were chanting "Rocky sucks." Thank you for laughing. But it was 16,000. And I remember laying there in the ring, and the referee said to me, don't listen to him. And it was crippling for me.
Yeah.
But so then at that time, the powers that be thought, this isn't going to work. And for whatever reason, people are not liking you and they're not connecting with you. And so in that moment, it was very defining, because I asked then if I could just be myself. And if I could go out there and if I can speak to the crowd, and if I could just be myself and be authentic. And if I don't want to smile, I don't smile. If I want to laugh, I laugh. If I want to sing, I sing. Whatever it is, I just want to be me. Can I have that for 1 minute of live TV time? Powers that be at that time, Vince McMahon, said, you got it. So on Raw, live TV, I grabbed a microphone and I said, I may be a lot of things, but sucks isn't one of them. I guess the moral of the story is the importance and the power of finding your identity and being true to who you are. Even in that wild world of pro wrestling, it still applies to everyone in the room, and how powerful that could be, because it was a true shift and click moment. And I never looked back, and I became, fortunately, the biggest draw that the business has ever seen. When I felt like, okay, I really need to make a change in my career. I need to be me, and I want to have the kind of career that is a global career. And I said, I'm not quite too sure how we're going to do it, but I need you to buy into the vision with me, and I'm willing to put in the work with my own two hands. As I was telling my agency at that time in Hollywood. And they all looked at me like I had three heads, and they thought, well, We just don't. They thought, okay, sure, kind of placating me. And then eventually I'd left them and then decided, you know what? My name is The Rock, and I come from the world of professional wrestling, and I look the way I look, and I talk the way I talk, and I love to work out, and you know what? This is who I'm going to be. And then here I am today.
I think what it means to be a man is to be accountable, is to be accountable and stand up to the mistakes you've made. It's okay to fuck up. It happens to all of us. And be open, rip yourself open, be vulnerable. I've been there. We've all been there. The benefit of doing something like that is on the other side of that usually is some sort of progress, and how important that is. It's also, in my opinion, a quality of being a man is doing what you say you're going to do and taking matters into your own hands sometimes. But if you look somebody in the eye, you shake their hand, you give them a hug, or you give them your word, it's important to do it, or do your best to see it through. In my career, I felt most vulnerable when I wasn't able to be myself, my true self, my authentic self. We hear that all the time, how important it is. Be yourself. It's the most powerful thing you could be. And that's true. And it is the most powerful thing we could be. And when we're not being ourselves, we really bump up against that emotionally. And that's when vulnerability can creep in. And so for me, I was most vulnerable in my career in pro wrestling when I wasn't able to be myself until I was. And in the world of Hollywood, when I was told, in order to achieve a certain status, you gotta act like this, walk like this, talk like this, lose weight, etc., etc. And you buy into it, and I was vulnerable at that time. And I take responsibility for it, of course, because I was the one who made the final decisions on those things. So I wasn't able to be myself until I was. And then the vulnerability went away.